Hey guys, welcome back to another Korean lesson. Today is lesson 6 and we're finishing up our review, and this is teacher In Ha giving you this lecture. Alright, so a little quick review. We're going over moms, chams or consonants and vowels, and then finally we're gonna finish off with pachims today too. So we're basically wrapping up everything we've learned over the past couple of times we've been to Korean school. So yeah, we're just finishing up our review. All right, so on page 17, we have moms, and this is probably around where we started this quarter, spring quarter. So we have yeah, e, and then yeah. Once again, we have our alternative spelling method with iung. Remember, iung as a chaum is silent, which is why it's easy to just use when spelling yeah, e, yeah. So there's sp spelled a little differently with the iung, but they are pronounced exactly the same. Remember that and yeah, and yeah, these are homophones. They are spelled differently but pronounced the same. You have to memorize when to use which. So each word might have a different rule or a different mom to use. But as you get familiar with these, it becomes really easy. So we have yeah, and yeah. Again, to finish off. All right, page 18. We have three more. We have wa, we, and where. Once again, where are homophones. They're spelled differently but pronounced the same. Then we put iung on it, so we go wa, where, and then where. Alrighty, page 19. I'm gonna keep going. We have wo, we have where, we have we, and then we have ui. Wo, where, we, ui. No homophones here, but there's all spelled differently and pronounced differently. So we have wo, where, we, and then finally ui. Wo, where, we, ui. Alrighty. Let's take a look at a couple of vocabulary words that use these moms. The first one uses ji, u, ke. Ke right here as 기억, 차음, and then the mom, 지우개. 지우개 is eraser. For ye, we have ye. It's exactly the same as this. It's using iung, so ye, ki. 얘기. 얘기 means discussion or conversation. The next one, we have again. We have ka. Then mium. Mium 장. 카메라. Camera. Camera is camera. And finally, we have ye. 시계. 시 기억. 기억 자음. And then ye. 시계. 시계. 시계는, of course, it's clock. Alrighty. The next page, page 21. You have 와, 사, then 기억, and then 과, 사과. 사과 is apple. We have 왜, which is 디귿, and then 왜, so 돼, 쥐, 돼지. 돼지 is a oink oink pig. And then finally you have 왜, which is of course 교, hyuk, and 회, 교회, 교회. 교 is of course is church. Alrighty. And finally page 22. You have 위. So we put 기억 and then 위. 구위. 구위 is ear. And then finally 의. We have 의. 이응, right? 이응. We have 의. Same as this. Same as this. 의. 사. 의사 is doctor. Alrighty. Now we're gonna go into double 자음s or 쌍자음s. 쌍기역, 쌍디귿, 쌍비읍, 쌍시옷, 쌍지읒. We have these five. Then we put them on a. 까, 따, 빠, 싸, 짜. We have these five. 까, 따, 빠, 싸, 짜. Remember we hold out the sound of the singular 자음 to make it easy, like hold it out for the double or 쌍자음s. So 기억 is k, 그, and then k, 아, 가, 까. When it's supposed to be ka, it's ka because we hold out the k part of it. For the digut, it's the same. We have the ta, and then we have ta. We're extending out the digut sound. So ka, ta, pa, sa, and then ja. Alrighty. Alright. 우리는 가족, which means family. So this is basically groups of 자음s that sound very similar to each other. You have 기억, 기억, 쌍기역, 그, all pretty similar. That's why they're grouped together. They're spelled pretty similarly too, which is why they're together. Then we have 디귿, 티귿, 쌍디귿, 쌍디귿, 티귿, 쌍디귿, 뜨. Sound pretty similar. 쌍비읍, 피읍, 쌍비읍, 프, 프, 뿌, 뿌. And then finally we have 쌍시옷 and 시옷. And then 지읒, 쌍지읒, and 치읒. On these little groups. We're going to be taking a look at this a little bit more in depth when we go to 받침s later in this lesson, which is why these little squares are going to make more sense a little bit later as well. Alrighty. 우리는 가족. So these are just, keep in mind, groups of 자음s that are similar to each other, so we group them like family. Alright, page 25. We're going to look at a couple of vocabulary words that use 쌍 or 자음s with 쌍자음s, I guess. First we have 토, we have 쌍기역, we have 토, and then plus 쌍기역, and then 이. So we have 토끼, which is of course a rabbit. A rabbit. Then we have 띠, and 뭐 plus 리 plus 쌍, 띠긋, and then 이. 머리띠, 머리띠. 머리띠 is of course headband. 쌍비읍, 뽀 plus 뽀, which is 뽀뽀, which means kisses or kissing. Alright, page 26. We have 쌍시옷, 스 plus 레 plus 기. 쓰레기, which of course is trash. And finally, 쌍지읒, 지 plus 게. 찌개, which of course is, it's hard to completely translate this to English, but I say the closest thing is soup. Alrighty. And finally, we have 받침s. Alright, 받침s, as we looked earlier, are divided into 가족s or families. In this case, 받침s, they are pronounced sometimes a little differently from 자음s. So they might be pronounced differently based on where they are in the letter. So for 받침s, of course, they're on the bottom of the letter, and they're pronounced pretty much in groups or families. They're pronounced the same regardless of how they're written. So it's a little bit like the homophones from moms that we've been learning. So for an example, we look at 기억, 기억, and then 쌍기역. For 받침s. Remember, 받침s are on the bottom. This is the last part of the last part of the three trifecta of Korean letters. Look at the first one. Ha plus 기억. 학교. 학교. The second one. 부엌. 학교. 부엌. And then finally, 낚시. Now, if you notice carefully, 학교, 부엌, 낚시. They all sound pronounced exactly the same. They're like the homophones from moms. They're written very differently on the pachims, but they are pronounced exactly the same. In this case, this is a family because they're all pronounced like 기억. So 학교, 부엌, 낚시. They have the exact same pronunciation, but they're spelled differently. Once again, this requires memorization, but becomes very easy as you practice more and more. So what do these vocabulary words mean? 학교 is school. 부엌 is kitchen. And finally, 낚시 is fishing. All right, let's look at niun. Niun as a family is just by itself. Niun is pronounced the same as its chaum counterpart, niun as a pachim or chaum. They're the same. They're just pronounced the same. So very easy. So we have nun, nu, to, sa, nun, ton, san. Nun means here snow. Ton means money. And then finally san means mountain. Nun, nun, ton, san. All right. Now this is the largest family of them all. All of these as a pachim are pronounced the same as digut. So digut, tigut, chiot, chiut, chiut. They're all pronounced like digut. So let's look at examples. 돋보기, 밭, 옷, 낫. Finally, 꽃, 돛, 밭, 돛, 밭, 옷, 낫, 꽃. They all have the digut sound in it. So they're all pronounced exactly the same. These are all homophones. So this is the largest homophone family for pachims. So 돋보기, 밭, 옷, 낫, 꽃. They all have different spellings, but they're all pronounced the same. So 돋보기, of course, means magnifying glass. 밭 means field. 옷 means clothes. 낫 means daytime. And then 꽃 means flower. 돋보기, 밭, 옷, 낫, 꽃. Alrighty. These are much more simpler families. They're just one by themselves. 리을 and 미음, both of them are pronounced the same. 자음 and 모음. 자음 and 받침, same. 리을, 을, 미음, So you have 다을, 마을, and then 부을. 달, 말, 불. 달 means moon, 말 means horse, 불 means fire. We have 미음, 고음, 보음, 김치. 곰 of course means bear. 봄 means spring. Kimchi is kimchi. The food kimchi. Alrighty. We have a small another family, piup and piup. They're all pronounced like piup. So we have jeep and then soup. So jeep, soup, jeep, soup. Both of them are pup sounds, pronounced the same. 집 means house, and 숲 means forest. Finally, you have iung. Remember, iung as a chaum is silent, which is why we use them for like yeah. When we do that, we put iung on because it's silent, and it looks prettier when we put it in when we spell it. So that's why we do that. But for iung as a pachim, it has a sound. It has a sound. It has a sound. So iung is a sound to it when it's put in as a pachim. So you have ka you have ko then ka pang ka and then pa 강공 가방. Alrighty. So 강 means river, 공 means a ball, 가방 means backpack. I mean backpack. Alrighty. And finally, we have a couple of vocabulary words for practice. We have 기억, we have 축구, which is soccer. We have 학교, which is of course school. For 니은, we have 손, which is hand. For the second one, you have 우산, which is umbrella. You have tigut. Of course, tigut is a family. They could be spelled in all sorts of ways, like this. All of these count, but they're all pronounced the same as tigut. From the tigut family, we have 옷, which is called clothes. Then we have 꽃, which is flowers. Both of them, 치읓, 치읓, they're in this family. None of them are actually tigut, but they're still counting as the family because they're pronounced the same. They're homophones. Alrighty. Then we have lir, the lir family. We have 별, which are stars. 딸기, which is strawberries. Then we have mium, which is 곰, which is a bear. 미음, 침대. That's a bed. And then we have 비읍, we have 잎. Remember, 비읍 family has two. Yes, piup and piup. Ib is of course lips. Soup is of course a forest. And finally, for our last review, we have ing, we have 빠응, 빵, which is bread, and then 강아지, 가, 강아지. That means dog, puppy. And then we see here on the bottom, we have all the family trees of homophones, of pachims, with the pronunciations. They're grouped together so they're easy to memorize. There we go. And that is all for this week. So we have moom, cham, pachim practice. Make sure to practice vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, all of the good stuff. And finally, I'm planning on doing a short 10-word vocabulary spelling test. It's not really a test, it's more of like, hey, let's see how much you've learned if you want to test yourself and grow and be a little more serious when you're practicing. This is a great way to do so. The vocabulary, the words that I'm gonna pick are all directly from the first page, 33 pages. It's just gonna be me saying them out loud and you writing them, and then I'm gonna, after we've gone through all 10, I'll go over the answers. Alrighty, that's it, and then we're gonna be going on to our next unit, new stuff to learn next week. Alright, see you next week, guys. Goodbye.